Today, I get to play English teacher because English was my favorite subject in school. So did you guys ever do this in English? The who, what, when, where, why exercise? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Richard was at recess. So we're going to do that now to start the NBA season. So how this is going to work, I'd like each of you to please take a category, and we are going to start with, I love that I have a whiteboard for this. This makes me happy. Shanae Agumake.
Yes.
The who of the NBA season.
So who is going to win MVP this year? I feel like every time a new season starts, it's an open slate for someone to start strong and insert themselves into the conversation. And if you look at the odds, do you know who's number one in the odds? Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, number one. Giannis, 2 for MVP winner. And then 3 Embiid. If you think about that big 3, it's going to be fascinating because the Mavs, if they can pick up where they finished the season, mind you, that's the Western Conference Finals, Luka Doncic can absolutely be MVP. And everyone knows his talent deserves that. The question is, will his team propel him into that position? Because typically, apart from Jokic, top 1 or 2 in your conference wins MVP. Now we move to Giannis. I mean, like, y'all, we all know Giannis can win an MVP as well. But the question is, when he becomes 3-time MVP, what does that put him in the category of? Like Dr. J, like, how do we feel about people transitioning into the greatness of the top 3 or so, 3-time winners, 4-time winners, 5-time winners? And lastly, Embiid. Joel Embiid, I mean, it's almost like he's always been the runner-up the last few years, and it almost feels like it's his time. The more healthy he gets, the better that the Sixers get. You feel like his chances improve. So those are the big 3 per the odds. I'm not sure who I'm siding with just yet, but I'm excited to see who will be MVP.
So that's the who of the season as we head towards tomorrow.
All the top players.
What are you talking about? Okay.
That.
Well,
didn't make a pick.
Yeah, that's what I said. Didn't say anybody.
On brand.
That's, exactly.
Yeah, this is
on brand.
We're starting exactly where we left off.
Exactly.
So that brings us to it's who, what. Richard Jefferson, what's the what of the NBA season?
The what? Wow, you guys sprung this on me. I wasn't good at pop quizzes. What? What? Thank you, Greg. What will teams do to get Victor Wembanyama? Yeah, that's going to be a fun watch because it's going to start pretty much now. You saw teams trading away players during the summer. You saw teams, you've seen what happened in Utah. You've seen what happened in San Antonio. All of these teams are preparing for a very, very subpar season to say the least, but I'm very, very curious to watch it as this progressions. As the season, if a team doesn't play well, their star player gets injured, they're going to just ship everything out of there and make sure that they're in that bottom 4.
You know how we always have monikers for, like, tanking? The one we decided last week was losing club for V-Dub. It's hard to do Wembanyama. Drama for
I'm thumbs down on that.
Thumbs down?
You don't like losing club for V-Dub?
I like
No.
Well, now you know what the rule is. Now you're going to have to come up
I'm
with
not doing it on live television.
No, we'll let you have it. You're here all week.
V-Dub, right?
We'll let you come up with it. All right, Mr. Mark Spears.
Yes,
then
ma'am.
the next one is the where. Where? What where question do we have for the NBA season?
Where will the Suns be?
Oh.
That's a really good question. I was there at Media Day, and people gave me some heat for being really sad. It was a sad place. But things have gotten better. Like the dust is settling on Sarver, right? Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton, they're in a good place now. What's the problem with the Suns? Why do I think they'll be 4th or 5th? The bench. You take Jay Crowder away, right? And you put Cam Johnson in the starting lineup. There's no more JaVale McGee. What is their bench? So what Monty's going to do now is he's going to have to keep at least probably 2 starters on the floor at all times when last season he could do 1 at a time. Their bench is pretty weak. We'll see what happens after Jay gets traded. But right now, I'm really nervous for the Suns starters because they're going to have to push up their minutes for them to rise.
Interesting. Okay, so now that brings us to the history teacher among us. The why, Zach Lowe?
You gave me the heavy one. Like, why? Why are we even here?
It's very existential.
Why are we throwing a ball?
Oh, nihilistic already. I love it.
Why can't this be the year that the cursed second sisters of the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Clippers, finally break the curse? Every time it feels like something good is going to happen to one of these teams. Somebody gets injured. A sinkhole opens in the earth. Someone else gets injured. Someone demands a trade. Another person demands a trade. Why can't this be the year? In Brooklyn, we all know why it's like everything, the whole thing that's happened there. Will they run for the exits at the first sign of adversity? Can they defend anybody in their small lineups? With the Clippers, this big 2 plus a whole lot of depth model is really unusual in the NBA. And when it works, it's usually because the big 2 are 2 like of the top 8 or 10 guys in the NBA. Kawhi's coming off a year off. Paul George has been injured a lot. Are those guys still at that level? And then who is the third and fourth guys? Who really pops so it's not just those two guys and a bunch of pretty good players? Is that enough? But this year, it's going to happen once for one of these teams. Is this going to be the year? Why not, I say?
Why not, you say? Well, let's see what Professor Perkins says. I want to bring Big Perk in here for the when. Big Perk, when?
Well, when is the month of never-weary, okay? Never-weary. They will never figure it out. That's when. And let me explain why, okay? And I'm talking about the Lakers, okay? The Lakers will never figure it out when it comes down to the Russell Westbrook situation, whether that's bringing him in off the bench or whatever the case may be. I had a weekend to think about the Lakers after they got smacked in their last preseason game by the Sacramento Kings. And I understand it's preseason, but to get the spanking that they got, Russell Westbrook went out due to a hamstring injury. It's time to address the elephant in the room, okay? And the elephant in the room is that it's just not going to work with Russ, okay? I think the relationship is pretty much over. Darvin Ham is trying his best, but at the end of the day, I think this Laker roster, the way that it is currently constructed, and I love the Patrick Beverley addition, but Russell Westbrook is not going to be in full acceptance of this six-man role for us with the Lakers. He wasn't brought here to embrace that. He's getting paid a lot of money. So I don't think it's never going to happen. And I think Rob Pelinka needs to make sure that while he still has time before it gets too late in the season, that he needs to readjust this roster a little bit more and probably get Russ up out of there, to be honest with you.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.